Okay, 4.2 notes, we're going to do long division, page 5 in your notes. So we're going to conduct the long division of a number to polynomials. So when you do long division with numbers, the first thing you ask yourself is how many times does it go into the first number? So looking at this example, we have the number 5. 5 doesn't go into 1, but it does go into 12. So we can say how many times does 5 go into 12? Well, the answer would be 2. The next step would be to multiply. So 5 times 2 is 10. That goes below. The next thing you would do is to subtract those numbers. So 12 minus 10 makes 2. And then the next step would be to drop down that next number. So the 8 drops down to make 28 here. And then notice you go back to the top again, repeat. How many times does 5 go into 28? That's 5 times. Step 2 is to multiply, so 5 times 5 is 25. Step 3 is to subtract, so we're going to subtract those numbers. 28 minus 25 is 3. When you are at the end here, with a number you could continue with decimals, but with polynomials you cannot. So you would write your answer as a fraction. So we would say that this is 3 left out of the 5 that we were dividing by. So we're no longer going to be writing with a remainder of 3. You're going to write it as 3 as your remainder out of whatever you were dividing by. So now let's connect that with a polynomial. The first thing you have to do is to write the polynomial in descending order with 0 for any missing terms. So if it goes x to the 4th, x cubed, and then x, you're missing a term. You have to put like a 0x squared. The next thing you have to do is determine how many times the divisor goes into the first term. Then you're going to multiply those numbers, then you subtract, and then you could just drop down those terms until you are done. So notice this is the same process as you would use with a number. You're going to now do with variables. So notice we're dividing x squared minus 2x minus 48 by x plus 5. So to do this, this is getting divided by x plus 5. That goes in front. So ignore the 5 for a minute. You just look at the first term and the first term. X times what is x squared? Well, that would be x. The next step is to multiply this x to everything over here. So we have x times x, that's x squared. X times 5 is 5x. The next step is to subtract this. So that means we're going to take the opposite of the terms. So this is going to be a negative x squared and a negative 5x. So notice that the x squareds cancel. And over here, negative 2x and negative 5x makes a negative 7x. The last step is to drop down the next term. So we're dropping down the negative 48. So now we go back to first term, x times what makes a negative 7x? Well, that would be a negative 7. The next step is to multiply. Negative 7 times x is a negative 7x. Negative 7 times 5 is a negative 35. You're subtracting the whole row, so change both signs. This cancels like you want it to. So this would become negative 48 plus 35, which is a negative 13. Notice there's nothing else to drop down, so this is our remainder. So I'm going to put a plus negative 13 over what I'm dividing by, x plus 5. And this whole thing is my answer. Another way you could have written this is to put x minus 7 minus a positive 13 over x plus 5, but I find that some people get a little bit confused. So, part B. We're dividing this by x minus 2. Pay close attention. Look it, we're missing an x cubed term. So when I write this, I have to put in a 0x cubed as a placeholder, and then we're dividing by x minus 2. So again, first term, x times what is x to the 4th? That'd be x cubed. Now we multiply. X cubed times x, that's x to the 4th. X cubed times negative 2 is a negative 2x cubed. We're subtracting the whole row, so change both signs. X to the 4th cancels. I have now 2x cubed. Now I have to drop down the next term. Looking just at the first term, x times what is 2x cubed? That would be 2x squared. Now I multiply 2x squared with both of these. So 2x squared times x is 2x cubed. 2x squared times a negative 2 is a negative 4x squared. Subtract the whole row, change both signs. The x cubes canceled. I'm left with a negative 3x squared. Drop the next term. Looking first term, x times what is negative 3x squared? That would be a negative 3x. Now we multiply negative 3x times x, that's a negative 3x squared. A negative 3x times a negative 2 is a positive 6. Subtract the whole row, changing both signs. The x squareds cancel. I get a 3x. Drop down that last term. We're getting to the end. First term, x times what is 3x? 3. Now we multiply. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Subtract the whole row, so we're going to change both signs. The x's cancel. I'm left with a negative 4. So we have all of this plus a negative 4 over what we're dividing by, x minus 2. Notice without the placeholder, you would have gotten a little stuck here. Like, what do I do? There's no x cubed. So that placeholder is important to help you continue on. All right, so then the remainder theorem. It says when you divide a polynomial by x minus k, then f of k equals the remainder. Then we have what's called the factor theorem. It says if x minus k is a factor, then f of k equals 0. All right, so this sounds really confusing, but let's take a look back at number 1a. Notice this is a number that we were dividing by. What it's saying is if I set this factor equal to 0 and solve for x, notice I'm going to get a negative 5. If I plug that negative 5 into this polynomial, like so, I'm going to get a positive 25 plus 10 minus 48. And when I simplify that, I'm going to get negative 13. Hey, look, that's my remainder. So it's a great way of looking at this and figuring out what remainder you should be getting. That way you'll know if you're doing this right or not. So let's look at B and try the trick again. So set this equal to 0, add the 2 over, I get a positive 2. We're going to plug positive 2 into this polynomial. And then we have 2 to the 4th, that's 2, 4, 8, 16. 4 times the negative 7 is a negative 28. 9 times 2 is 18. Drop the minus 10. If I simplify that, I get negative 4. Hey, look, that's my remainder. So it's a great way of making sure you did the long division properly and got the correct remainder. So let's look at number 2. It says to determine if the polynomial is a factor. So we're going to set this factor equal to 0, and I'm going to get 5. When I plug the 5 into the polynomial, it should tell me what the remainder is. So 5 times 5 times 5 is 125, minus 8 times 25 is 200, and then 17 times 5 is 85. And then we simplify this, I get 0. Well, if I'm getting 0 as my remainder, that means it's a factor. So yes, it's a factor. What about B? If you were to divide by x plus 1, is that a factor? Okay, hopefully you were able to plug in negative 1. You should be getting 1. So that means it's not a factor. It won't divide by evenly into that. All right, number 3, it says use the given factor to factor the polynomial completely. This means for sure I shouldn't have a remainder since this is a factor. So I'm going to take this polynomial, notice I'm not missing any terms, and I'm going to do long division to figure out what we get. Notice if I was to try to factor by grouping, the groups wouldn't match. So I can't factor the way I was learning on 4.1. So we have to do long division this time. So using this factor, I'm going to look at first term, first term. So x times x cubed, that'd be x squared. Now we multiply x squared times x squared times negative 6. Subtract the whole row, changing both signs. The x cubes cancel. I'm going to get a positive 3x squared. Drop the next term. First term, x times what is 3x squared? That'd be 3x. Then we multiply x times 3x is 3x squared. Negative 6 times 3x is a negative 18x. Subtract the whole row, changing both signs. The x squareds cancel. I'm left with 2x. Drop the last term. X times what is 2x? That'd be 2. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. Subtract the whole row, changing both signs. Hey, look, I get 0. If you don't get 0 and they're telling you it's a factor, you made a mistake. So what did we do? We factored out x minus 6 from this polynomial. So now I have this x minus 6 factored out, leaving me with x squared plus 3x plus 2. Well, hey, that's a trinomial. I can t-chart. So this x squared is x and this 2 would be 2 and 1. Notice 2x and 1x makes 3x, so now I factored this trinomial. So my three factors are x minus 6, x plus 2, x plus 1. Now it's factored completely. Your turn. Okay, hopefully you were able to do long division, divide out this x minus 9. That should leave you with x squared minus 9x plus 14, which you have to t-chart. So you get x minus 9, x minus 7, x minus 2.